Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to March's book wrap up. These are all the books that I read in the month of March, and I also have two books that I actually DNF'd that I'm gonna talk about as well. March was like not a rough month, but definitely was in more of a slump. I know it looks like I read a lot of books, which for a slump, it definitely is a lot of books. While reading them, I was in a slump while reading them. I don't know if that makes sense, but these are all the books that I've read this month. We're gonna get right into it. Carrie Soto is back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. As you guys know, I don't love the books that I've read by Taylor Jenkins Reid. People love her books, but they never really hit with me other than Daisy Jones. But I read this in the swapping books with Destiny and Haley. I really enjoyed the way it was character driven, the tennis world, and just seeing that in this book. Basically, this is about Carrie Soto, who is the top women's tennis players, and she is in retirement and she's watching a match, and one of the girls that are playing is about to beat her top ranking. She turns to her dad and she's like, I want to come out of retirement and I want you to be my coach. That's right where it starts, and then you get flashback to when she started tennis, the way she started loving tennis and getting thrown into the tennis world, and how her father coached her into it and how she became who she was. And then you get the present day trying to take back her name and her title. This takes place, I think, in the 1990s. It ends up being the US Open, something like that. But one of the things I absolutely loved, it was more like her being just such a strong woman character and knowing what she wants and knowing who she is and really not settling for anything less than that. She really just wants to prove herself to herself. It doesn't matter what anyone else says about her. She wants to be the best and she's gonna be the best. She was definitely strong with her attitude, but I really enjoyed that from her. And all of the other side characters, her father, this other guy character, it was just like really good. I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Then from the two most beautiful books I own is Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. I ended up reading Once Upon a Broken Heart in that same video as Carrie Soto is back, and then The Ballad of Never After ended up reading a few books later, but I'm gonna put them together. Basically, Once Upon a Broken Heart is about Evangeline. I think I've said this in a few other videos, but her one true love is marrying someone else, so she thinks that there's like a curse going on. So she makes a deal with Jax, who is one of the fates, and the deal is she'll kiss 3 people, whoever he says to do. So you kind of go on that journey with her in the first one. I absolutely loved the way Stephanie Garber created this world, and the way she wrote was very easy to understand. It flowed really well, but it was so magical and so fairy tale, and I loved it so much. I loved the world that I was in while reading this. I loved the characters. Everything about it was just so good, so entertaining. And then The Ballad of Never After, I gave 5 stars. I was in my slump, like I said, but this made feelings come out of me while reading a book, and it really made me feel, and the ending just like broke my heart. This follows more of Evangeline and Jax and their kind of relationship, along with the adventure that they go on to do something else within this. I don't want to say too much because they'll kind of give away what happens in the first one. But yeah, I loved it. There was other characters that were involved in this one that were just like so good. The whole storyline, the characters, the writing of it was beautiful. I love these books. Highly recommend, especially if you're not big into fantasy. I think these are very easy to understand and kind of grasp the concept and the fairy tale and the fantasy of it. This is 2 books that come after the Carvel trilogy. You don't have to read the Carvel trilogy to read and understand these, but if you want the beforehand events that took place, definitely read that first. And then the 3rd one comes out in September, and I'm so excited to read that. Then I read Taste of Poison by Cassandra Odette. This is part of the Entangled with Fae series. I've read the 2nd and the 3rd. This is the 4th. She's coming out with a 5th soon, and it's the Sleeping Beauty retelling. So all of these books are princess retellings. Heart of the Raven Prince is Cinderella, and then I think it was Kiss of the Selkie was Little Mermaid, and this was Snow White. So you not only get the princess retellings in this, it's basically about Astrid Snow, and she ran away from her stepmother because her father died and her stepmother is pinning it on her. So she ran away. Her stepmother put out a huntsman to track her down, bring back her heart. They made like this whole deal together. So you get those two, and that's kind of like the romantic connection within it, but there's also fantasy, like there's like powers and stuff. It's not too much fantasy where it's like confusing and it's like all of that, but it's very easy to understand. You get the whole princess fairy tale, which is really fun. I love her writing. I loved the little romance in here. It was between Astrid and the huntsman, so you have him coming after her, basically wanting to kill her, and her trying to prove her innocence. So there's also like a murder mystery going on. You don't know who did it, and it was so fun to go along, and the covers are just beautiful. If this is getting repetitive because these are all in videos that I filmed this month, I'm so sorry. I didn't read any like mood reads. I think, yeah, these are all in videos. This month was kind of a struggle month for me, but okay. Then I read My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shin. I bought this because Lauren sent it to me and she was like, this is beautiful. We both love Darling Venom, one of our favorite books of all time by Parker S. Huntington, and we saw this cover. We were like, immediately buy, but she co-wrote it together, so I was very excited to see how it was written, what it's about. I literally had no idea what it was about when I bought it. It's basically a marriage of convenience kind of trope. So it starts out with Dallas Dallas, and her father has this like reputation in, I think they live in Georgia or something like that. They live in the South, and she is at this like, I don't know what it was, where they were at, but she ends up kissing Romeo, and she was set to marry someone else. So when they were caught kissing by like the whole party that was going on, it was like, okay, your reputation is about to be ruined. And Romeo makes a deal with her father that he will marry her, be her fiance. So she's forced to now move in with him. They don't get along. He's older than her. I don't remember how old he was, but there was a pretty decent age gap. And the way he acts is just so funny, because Dallas would make fun of him because he talks like as if he were like in Bridgerton. Like he's just like, so, I don't know. He's also rich. It's like that kind of trope where he has like all this money. He lives in this huge house. But it was so funny. Their banter with each other was like, it made me giggle like a lot. And Romeo has other friends that are in this books, and you get their like text messages and stuff. And usually I don't love text messages and that kind of things in books, but it was so funny. I want books on his friends. I will say, starting off this book and reading it, I didn't think it was gonna be for me. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it. But once you get past like the beginning of it and you get like into the story and get to know their characters more, it's so good. I loved the ending of this. Romeo's character development was so good. By the end of it, I loved him. And like throughout the book, I like didn't like him at all. I didn't like the way he acted. I didn't like the way he spoke to her. Like it was this whole thing. But I ended up loving him. It was so good. Surprisingly so good, because I didn't love it at first. Now we're getting into my current fantasy era. I don't see the end of it coming anytime soon, so this is really fun for me. I read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I saw this on TikTok a few times, and I was just like completely sold. I was like, I want a fantasy right now. I just want to try it out, you know? The way I loved this so much, and I'm still like obsessed with it. It's a trilogy, so there's two more books. I haven't gotten to those yet, but I'm so excited. Carissa's writing is just, it's just the way it's written is so beautiful. It's perfect. The characters and their development is also perfect. It's about Tisana, who was sold into slavery when she was very little, and she kind of performs for merchant people. She like is able to have like butterflies come out of her hands, and she made a deal with the man who bought her and said that she has to come up with this much money to buy her freedom. So eventually she does that, and then something happens, and then she's always had this idea to go to the orders, which is another part of the country, but they're kind of more neutral. She wanted to go there, so right after she buys her freedom, something happens and she flees and she runs over to the orders, and it's just like she has a whole journey to get there. But when she's there, she has to kind of earn her place there, so she's put under this like apprenticeship with Max, and I cannot even begin to explain how much I love Max. He's not the normal romantic interest I feel like you get from a fantasy. You usually get like the morally gray, kind of not mean, but like they're more on the evil side of it. Max is just complete golden retriever, so just perfectly written. Like he was completely written by a woman. Like I'm obsessed with him, but you don't get the romance right away. He's like completely turned off to teaching her things about the orders because something happened in his past that you find out. But eventually, slowly, their relationship just like it grows and grows. I thought that the whole thing was gonna be her earning her place into the apprenticeship and into the orders and stuff with Max, because it kind of took a while of her to like learn stuff, and you realize after that why he was doing and teaching her all these things. It's just, it was so good. The storyline just took a turn, and I was obsessed. I couldn't put it down. So many good quotes. I'm literally like obsessed with her writing. Like I need to read all of her books now. Again, the character development is just like, of Tisana especially, is like phenomenal. So I cannot wait to continue the series and read her other books. I highly recommend this book. Then these next books are actually in a video that's coming out after this one, so I don't want to say too much, but I will obviously show you the books that I have read for it. I'm not gonna give you my star rating, but I'll just give a gist. So I read From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is another fantasy romance. This is basically about Poppy, who is the maiden. She's like the chosen one, and she lives like with the higher ups, and she's not allowed to talk to anyone, like touch anyone, no physical contact, no socializing, no kissing, like nothing like that, unless it's like the higher up people. That's basically her life. And Hawk is put on to be his guard, but they had this little thing happen in the beginning of the book, so when he becomes her guard, like he doesn't really know that she's the maiden, like this whole thing, and then they have like a romantic interest going on. I'm not gonna give my feelings on the book, but that's the gist of it. I did read it. It'll be in the video that comes out right after this wrap up. But yeah, I did read From Blood and Ash. Then I read Then She Was Gone. The Target sticker is still on. I think I'm the only one that does not get bothered by these stickers. I'd rather keep it on than like try to scrape it off. Anyway, this is by Lisa Jewell. I think that's how you say it. But this is a mystery thriller, and this is about a mom whose daughter Ellie went missing, and now it's 10 years later, and she meets this guy whose daughter looks just like her daughter, and she's like, this is so incredibly suspicious and crazy and coincidental. So now she's going down that rabbit hole, and she's just trying to see like what, you know? But yeah, the premise of this is very interesting, and I like would go to Target like all the time and see this book, and I was always so intrigued by like the summary on the back, but there's a lot more to it than just this summary, I have come to realize. But I'm not gonna give too much away because it's in a video. Then I read Carvel by Stephanie Garber. So like I said, this is the first trilogy that takes place before the Once Upon a Broken Heart book. So I kind of just wanted to go back and see like what it was all about. I will say that her writing in this feels different than her writing in the Once Upon a Broken Heart books. I don't know what it was. This is basically about Scarlet and Donatella, their sisters, and Scarlet writes to Legend, who is the mastermind behind the carnival game that he kind of plays, and you have to get invited to it. So eventually she gets tickets to go. Her and her sister are going, but when they get there, or when Scarlet gets there, her sister is gone, and she is now the sole prize of the game. She's the center of the game. So Scarlet kind of has to go through all of the riddles and the game and like all of the magic and the fantasy fairy tale stuff to find her sister and win. So that was really interesting. Stephanie Garber, I said in the video that's coming out, like her creativity is crazy, and I love the way that she comes up with this stuff. So I don't know when I'm gonna read the other two. I think more towards when the third book after The Ballad of Never After comes out, I'll probably pick those two up just to finish that out before I read that. And then it's actually the last day of March right now when I'm filming this, and I'm reading This Woven Kingdom by Tahera Mafi. I think that's how you say her name. She's the author of the Shatter Me series. I'm literally almost done. I'm gonna go finish this after I film this. It's about, I don't know how to say her name, Eliza, but she is a servant, and she's also the heir to a kingdom, but it's no longer a thing. Like, she's just a servant. She's like basically the lowest of the low. There's the prince of their little kingdom, Cameron, who it says has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king. He could never have imagined that the servant girl he can't put out of his mind would one day uproot his kingdom and the world. So again, I really just can't describe what this book is about, but you get like the romance-ish between them further into the book. Is not really the main plot until you get deep in the book. Like the beginning of it was definitely building the world and the characters and the storyline there and seeing like what both characters and their stories are. Getting into this was kind of difficult because her writing's very lyrical, very poetic, and she kind of just starts right into the book, and it's kind of a little confusing, I won't lie, but once you get into it, you start understanding what it's about and you like understand the world, it gets better. I'm gonna finish this one today, so I just wanted to include it in this wrap up. When my next video comes out, you will see all of my ratings for those last books, if I recommend them or not. This Woven Kingdom is not gonna be in the video that these ones are in. It's gonna be the one right after that, but you will see eventually how I feel about this book. Into the books that I DNF'd this month, there's two of them, which I'm trying so hard if I don't enjoy a book to DNF it, unless it's like for a video or something like that. Like I don't want to force myself to read it or see through the book if it's gonna put me in a slump, if I'm not enjoying it. Like there's so many books out there that I feel like I should stop doing that. So the first one was actually our March book club pick, which is so sad to say because everyone in the book club was reading it, but there were a lot of people that agreed with me and a lot of other people that also DNF'd it, so I felt validated. But In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, I got 199 chapter 15 pages into this book, which I think is halfway because this book is like around 400 pages. It's basically about this woman who inherits her grandmother's tulip farm back where she grew up, but in order to get it, she has to be married and she has to move back to the farm, to her hometown. And then the farm next door or whatever is Noah's farm, and they went to high school together. Noah's had this crush on her since then, and now she's back and he's like, oh my god. He's taking care of her niece, so he's like a single father, or his niece, which all sounds really good. You know, you get the small town, a tulip farm sounds cute, a single father, this is like second chance, cute, right? Wrong. It's like there was no plot. Like I explained that summary, but like there was nothing in here that like gave to that. The child in here, Jenny, was like cursing like a sailor, and it was funny and cute like the first couple of times, but like no, she's still cursing, and like I don't know, it was like annoying. But I don't like kids in books, so I should preface that, but like she was like next level. I just didn't love her. And then Noah, I didn't love. He's like shy golden retriever, I guess you could say. So, I don't know, he was like thinking about her weirdly. I think that if this was second chance, because you got in his point of view, like him rehashing what happened when they were younger, but like if this was like a dual timeline, like you got how they were in high school and them now, I think it would have made it much more interesting. There was like nothing to this, and like nothing was happening. I was so bored. I'm very passionate about this. I don't recommend this. That's all. And then I actually DNF'd Mile High by Liz. I forgot her name, but I'll put it up here. This is actually surprising because I got this recommended so many times at so many people's 5-star reads, and I don't know if it's because one, I was in a slump, two, I wasn't feeling this type of romance, I guess, but I just feel like I'm kind of not loving right now, at least, the sports romances where the main guy is just so playboy. Like this guy would have like a roster of girls that he would reach out to in every state that he would go to. It's basically about this guy, Xander, who who is a hockey player, NHL hockey player, and I forgot her name. But she is flight attendant on their plane, like their private plane to and from like all of their games that are like out of state. But it's like starting off enemies, but like he would kind of annoy her and she would just be like fed up, like literally leave me alone, like I can't be around you, like it would get me fired. But he would just like keep annoying her, keep hitting like the flight attendant button, and every time they were going to like a bar in the town, like she's just trying to get away and he would show up and just like, I don't know. I think I got like 30 something % of the way in this. He just like really turned me off. I didn't really like him. I didn't love, there was this one thing that kept happening and it was like she would talk about her body a lot, and I'm all for that in books, but the way she would negatively talk about her body every other page in her point of view, it really like, it made me feel bad like reading it. Like nothing about it was reassuring, and it was like, it happened so much. I didn't love it. I did hear that the second one though after that, it's about her brother, I think he's an NBA player, is better. So maybe one day if I'm in the mood I'll read that. I don't think I was in the mood. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it. It's this thing now where I don't know if I could ever go back to like a regular rom-com unless I'm in the mood for it. After reading like all these fantasy books and like seeing like a romance in a fantasy world, they hit harder and they make me feel more, and I feel like I was in such a slump because all these books felt the same and I wasn't feeling anything between any of their connections. And these fantasies, it's like the stakes are so high because like someone could die, you know? I'm waiting till like summer comes and I'm in like a beachy mood, a little rom-com mood, but for now these fantasies are hitting like really hard. That's all. That's my wrap up. Lots of new opinions this month, lots of new genres and books, a wide range of books this month. I feel like very interesting wrap up. But yeah, stay tuned for my video that's coming out. The one right after this and the one right after that will have some of these books in them, and they're some of my favorite videos that I filmed. Let me know if you read any of these books, any of your opinions. I know that they were like all over the place. There were some DNFs, some high ratings, some low ratings, but you know what? That's okay. That's why I'm giving you my wrap up, because these are all my opinions. Let me know if you enjoyed. I hope you did. I also didn't include my TBR in this because my boyfriend just chose my TBR for April, which is the video right before this if you are interested. That's all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you did, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!